Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to your Daily Five. I'm Leslie Jouflas of Trading Live Online, and today is February 28th, the last trading day of the month. We're short one day here or so in February. The last Daily Five that I did, which was on February 14th, I covered some patterns on the indexes, and I'm going to look at those again today. But today I'd like to add in the RSI, the Relative Strength Index, and show you some things that I look at using the RSI, and I hope you'll find that helpful as well. And then from there, we're going to take a look at a classic chart pattern that I noticed on Ford the other day. So let's get going to the charts. Okay, I'm going to start with a monthly chart of the Dow Jones Industrials, and I'm using the YM contract, which is the Emini futures for the Dow Jones. And I'm going to spread this out just a little bit. And right back here, this was where from February 14th, I noted that there was an inside bar on the monthly chart. And so you can look up that episode if you like for more detail. But the market has not gotten a good close yet below this or below this bar, although we have started to decline on this. But what I want to show you on here with the RSI, which I've got up in the lower level here, we're going to go all the way back, and I'm going to show you how I look at this with some ranges, and sometimes you'll see shifts of ranges with the RSI, because the RSI was developed by Wells Wilder, and I believe it was first published in 1978. And this is actually an index. It's different from relative strength, which is you're measuring the difference between two different assets. Well, the relative strength index really measures itself against itself. It measures the speed and the magnitude of recent price changes. And so this can be very helpful in determining momentum, if momentum is increasing or it might be decreasing. And with a little bit further work, Constance Brown, in her book, Technical Analysis for the Trading Professional, talks about the shifts between bull phases and bear phases using RSI. So you can also look that up in her book if you'd like a lot more detail than what I can give in just a few minutes here today. But on this chart, you'll notice I have a few lines marked in. So this upper part is a dashed pink line, and then down below here, I've got this green line, and then there's a blue line here. So I tend, when I look at the charts, to kind of mark out the areas where I'm seeing a lot of price, either peaks or the valleys, and I note where those are by using the horizontal lines. So as an example, we can see going all the way back to 2009, the RSI had a very steep decline from 2007, 8 into 2009. And then once the market and the price started to rise, you can see the RSI rise with it. Well, here at the peak here, this rose up to just about the 68 level. So it's still not completely out of a bearish zone yet. It hasn't completely shifted range from the bearish to the bullish. And here the RSI starts to just consolidate with the price. So once it starts to rise above these peaks, right around in this area, and you can see it's just starting to break these previous highs, this is where it really, price really starts to accelerate. And the RSI is telling us that there's quite a bit of underlying strength. And this is a bullish range that it's created here. So we can use these lows right here. I'm going to see if I can move this line down just a little bit to mark that in. And so this becomes the support on the RSI. And once the market in 2015 went into this correction, you can see the RSI break that support. So that can give you an indication that the market is changing that range from the bullish into the bearish range. And then when the market comes out of that again in 2016, you can see the highs that the RSI made on the test up. And then once it starts to break above that again, you see that price start to rise, and you can see that momentum coming in. So that's one way that I use the RSI. Now, if we look over here, we can see that coming into 2021 and 2022 on this monthly chart, we can see the RSI start to break. Notice how this goes back to the same support level. We see that repeat over here, and the RSI, as the market is topping, starts to break below. So this is an early indication that the market might be shifting from the bullish to the bearish range. In fact, on my weekly market setups in 2021, going into the end of the year, I was saying it looks to me like the market may be shifting. And we also had on shorter time frames, we had a lot of sell patterns that we were monitoring up there. So now it comes down and finds support, the previous level here. And you can see on these bounces to the upside, it's only bouncing to about the 55 level. So it's still in the bearish range. So for the market to really do an acceleration like this again, we're going to have to see the RSI start to break some of these resistance levels and see, a nice move like this start to occur. So I do think we might see a bit more downside right now on the index, but let's go to the Nasdaq now and kind of take a look. This is on the daily chart. And again, in February 14th, I noted this ABCD sell pattern. So I've drawn in this dash trend line coming across this peak here, and it was tested right here. And the NASDAQ has been doing a retracement down, which was expected. We may again see it come a bit lower, but now for the NASDAQ to really pick up more strength, it's going to have to break this trend line here. And if we notice the RSI, I've got the RSI marked in here with the little yellow circle of what I'm currently looking at. So if we look, we can see that the NASDAQ on this last rally, notice how it broke above these peaks here, and the price as it broke this trend line really accelerated, and the RSI was confirming that strength. We're right now around this area, around this 40-ish level. It's just a bit above that right now. If the NASDAQ can stay above that on this correction and then start to turn back up, we'll probably see some more up movement on the NASDAQ. So that's what I'm looking at right now, combining the RSI. So let's take a look at, I'm going to use the SPY today on a daily, and you can see I've got a range marked in. I'm just going across where I see, clustering of the peaks on the RSI. So you see this last rally up, there's ABCD sell pattern here. You see the RSI peaked right up towards that. So this is a line that I will just continue to extend out into time, because this is obviously a very helpful level in the RSI to be watching. So the price level of that was about 65 on the high of this move. So that's not, we want to be seeing that get above the 70 level. Like back here, you can see where this move started. Notice the RSI climbed all the way up to a very high peak. It got, a bit overbought, did the correction down again, retest of that level. So we want to see the RSI, if the SPY is able to move above these highs, be able to also see the RSI move up to new highs with it. The retracement on the SPY right now is just testing this trend line. And so it's finding some support there right now, but I think we might be in a bit of a range for a little bit. If it breaks this trend line, then I think we could be looking at some retracements, probably down around in this, back to this 383-ish level there. But I think for now we might get a little bit more movement, a little bit of a retracement from this swing low back up again. Okay, so let's take a look now at the classic chart pattern on Ford. I'm going to show you just a couple things on here. So this is Ford on a daily chart, and there is a little ABCD buy pattern on here. I'm going to draw that in for you, just like that. And it comes down just a little bit lower. Now, when you're doing your analysis, try and look at several time frames. So we're starting on a daily. So what I like to do is I like to also go out to another time frame, because sometimes that's going to give you a little bit more of a view of what's happening, and sometimes you see something else, and that's what happened when I was doing the analysis on Ford the other day. So you see this ABCD buy pattern, and it's down just above this $11, but look at the support going back into 2022. If we kind of scrunch this up a little bit, get a little more data, we can see those lows right around these peaks. The market broke above those peaks as resistance and started this big climb to the upside. But if we just simply, actually, I'm going to go out one more time frame. Let's go to a monthly, because I think I might be able to see this a little bit better. I'm just going to take this off now and just work with the pattern that I see on here, which is simply a triangle pattern. So we've already identified that there's some support in there. Oops, sorry about that. I moved. There's support down here around this 10.5 level where I'm drawing the lower portion, extending that out here. So Ford, so this ABCD buy pattern that comes in right around the low end of this trend line, then the risk on that would be just below where the low of this triangle pattern is. Now, sometimes you'll get a pattern like ABCD buy, and that will kind of lead to where the breakout is. It doesn't always happen that way, but sometimes it does. But for this particular pattern, you want to be watching for either a breakout of the downward sloping trend line for an upside breakout, or below the upward sloping downtrend line for a downward breakout. And these types of patterns you can do measured moves from just taking the height of the pattern and doing a projection of where that breakout is. So I'll be keeping an eye on a Ford and see how this pattern plays out with the ABCD buy pattern. Well, that's it for me today. Thanks for joining me. Once again, I'm Leslie Jouflas with Trading Live Online. I hope everybody has a great week.
Hey, Grayson Rose here with StockCharts. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, consider giving it a like down below, maybe leave us a comment, and if you're new to the channel, you can subscribe at the link up above. We're going to bring you daily content from an incredible collection of technical analysts and financial experts.